What's good? It's your guy Chase from Question Mark Picks, and this is my recap video for UFC Abu Dhabi, which took place yesterday. I'm going to be going through all the fights that took place on the card. It's going to be talking about the picks that I made yesterday, some of the surprises on the card, and some of my biggest takeaways from the fights. So, first fight on the card was Sedriques Dumas versus Denis Tiuliulin. So I picked Sedriques Dumas to win a decision, which he did. I will say that this is one of those strange fights which sort of walks the line on the judging criteria. Because if you look at the stats on paper and you see that Denis Tiuliulin landed more total strikes, like let's pretend you didn't watch the fight and you saw that stat line, it really would encourage you to believe that he won the fight off of damage because he landed more strikes, which is going to accumulate into more damage on Sedriques Dumas. But what happened here was really just why I thought Sedriques Dumas was going to get the win. He imposed his wrestling. And I just think that at a certain point, if there's too much ground control time, your little pitter-patter shots from the bottom are not going to be able to do enough in the judge's eyes to get you a decision. I really don't think Sedriques Dumas is as advertised when he was first coming off of his Dana White's Contender Series win via guillotine, which was against an impressive, undefeated Russian opponent. But all we've been able to see so far is that, yeah, he can rack up some ground control time, but he looks very tired out there and he looks kind of lost on the feet. There's a few times where it almost looks like he's doing this like the drunken style of kung fu fighting, because he ate a few shots from Tiuliulin where it's like if you didn't know any better, you'd think he just got rocked, but it did seem as though, he was maybe trying to sell it, maybe trying to set Tiuliulin up. Very strange work on the feet, but he gets the win. Moving on to the next fight was Jai Herbert versus Rolando Bedoya. And I had Jai Herbert to win this fight, but watching it live, I wasn't totally sure how the judges were going to see it. I mean, Bedoya was doing cumulatively the better work in the first round, but he got dropped, which I do believe is why the judges ultimately ended up giving Jai Herbert the first. In the second round, I really thought Rolando Bedoya did enough to secure that round, again, just from the volume. And then I thought it's going to come down to the third. And thinking that it's going to come down to the third, it had me questioning myself, well, did Jai win the first? That's what I wasn't sure of watching it live. And Jai definitely did enough to win the third round, which, again, as I'm seeing the judges reading the scorecard, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go. I want to say that it was either one or two of them saw it 30-27. I think that's kind of crazy, even though Jai was our guy in this matchup. I think that, this Rolando Bedoya guy, it's really tough, right? He's lost 3 consecutive decisions. And in all 3 of them, he's, in it to win the fight. He's, just barely not having enough sting on his shots. And, he is very willing to take a shot, give a shot, and he'll basically match you on the numbers. But I guess he's just not really stinging because Jai never seemed too bothered. And, Rolando has a good poker face, but a few of those shots that Jai were landing were just too impactful for the judges to be able to give it to Rolando, I guess. But, I mean, it's tough. Thinking about him getting cut from the UFC with the performances that he's had, I think if this guy made some tweaks, he could be an okay fighter. But, I don't know. He seems as though he's designed to just lose close decision victories with his current approach. But that's another win for us with Jai Herbert. So now we're moving on to the matchup with Sam Hughes and Victoria Dudakova, where it's like, I even mentioned, I did lose this one, right? I picked Dudakova. I have to take my L on the chin. I did pick Dudakova, but I did mention that she didn't look that spectacular in her debut. And I think that she's going to lose eventually. That, I didn't see her performance as this is going to be a breakthrough fighter at strawweight. I saw her performance as she's probably going to lose to somebody who is a top 15, like from like the 12 to 15 range would, I think, handily beat her. But I didn't think that Sam Hughes had enough to be able to get the victory going in. Now, watching the match, I mean, it was a split decision, right? I wasn't totally sure. I mean, she did, like in the third, she got some ground control time. Dudakova got some ground control time. And I guess when they had exchanges on the feet, Sam Hughes edged her out. But I thought that Dudakova convincingly did enough to win the first, and I thought that Hughes did enough to win the second. And then again, it's like I said, Dudakova, she just didn't do enough, as is in her first fight. But I think where in the first fight, she edged out the third round. She got the third. I just said edged like 3 times in a female WMMA fight. But yeah, Sam Hughes, look, good job, Sam Page. I still don't think that she's all that. I just think that neither of them were all that. I think that Dudakova has potential, but it's like, do more if you want to convincingly win. Moving on to the next fight, which was sick. I got the pick wrong, but it was a sick fight with Guram, Kutateladze, and Jordan Vucenic. My take on this fight was that all signs point toward Guram should win, but these guys on short notice, making their UFC debut up a weight class somehow keep winning. And look, Jordan Vucenic was styling on Guram Kutateladze in that first round. I mean, he looked as though he was just going to march through Guram. And about halfway through the second round, it was looking the same. And where Guram was able to, change the tide of the second round, work in his own offensive wrestling, and get a takedown. And we're looking at, okay, it's all coming down to this third round. This is a fun fight. This is a competitive fight. This Vucenic guy was advertised to us as a submission specialist. He looks good on the feet. But then you just sort of start to see Vucenic fade, right? I don't think that he's going to have gas tank issues when he has a proper camp, but he just had a short notice fight a few weeks ago, and now he's taking on another short notice fight against Guram, who, good for him on getting the victory. I wish I just went with the high IQ play here. I mean, I finally pick a guy who's supposed to defeat the guy who's up a weight class, making his debut on short notice. Like, Guram should have won this fight, and he still almost lost it. And sometimes it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I went 10-3 on my picks here, but it's like, man, I almost had this one right as a good call for Vucenic. But there was a sequence in the third round where he had Guram's back. It's slippery, you're tired. He tried to take the back, and he fell right off the back, slipped over the top, and Guram was able to secure the back, and he was able to secure a back triangle. He was effectively switching which side the triangle was on. Look, Vucenic, he was trying. You could tell. And his coaches told him he was up 2-0, which is dangerous advice going into the third. You could tell that he believed that because he was actually surprised when they read the scorecards for Guram. I'm not trying to harp on the corner work here. I'm just an observer giving my takes on fights, but don't tell your fighter he's up 2 when he maybe lost the round. Like that second round, there's a set of judges that maybe would have given that to Vucenic. It was close. I do agree that I think Guram took the round over, but it's not like Guram ran away with that round by any means. But don't tell him. Tell him, look, that was a close round. We need the third. And maybe Vucenic would have been a little bit more conservative, and maybe he would have got the dub. But a lot of maybes, a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. Guram does get the W. I take the L on that one, but it was a good pick. I stand by that. Moving on, we have Shamil Gaziev versus Dante Mays. The Blob didn't necessarily beat the allegations of his bad cardio because he's like mouth breathing in the third round in a fight that wasn't even that high paced. But he rocked Dante. He wrestled when he needed to. I was impressed with, I guess, his fight IQ. So I was impressed with the damage, the fight IQ, and the wrestling. I'm still just concerned with the cardio. I'm not sold that, Shamil has what it takes to even be able to beat like Spivak at this point. So it's just run or something, I know it's heavyweight and it's easy for me to say this. I don't weigh, 265 pounds. I don't know how tiring it is to, be in a 3-round fight, right? But look, I trained and I spar and I understand that, there are differences when you have the body mass. But we see plenty of heavyweights not get tired. So get it together, Shamil. We're still calling you the Blob for now, but good win. Moving on to the next fight. Kaue Fernandes. Dude just schools Mohammad Yahya. And he was like, dude, they had this guy on the poster just because the UAE warrior, just because he was a regional guy. And it's like, other than that, right? Other than him, it's like all Russians on here, man. And they're trying to showcase their guy. And it's almost like kind of like karma because it's like you're showcasing him. Dude, Lupita Godinez and Mackenzie Dern are more well known than you. Joel Alvarez and Elvis Brenner. Azamat Murzakanov and Alonzo Menifield. Like, you're like the most insignificant guy on the card, and you're on the poster. And I get it. It's a regional thing. But it's like, we don't do this in MMA, right? We place people promotionally based on their talents. And there are some Patty Pan Blitz that slip through the cracks. But you don't just, when you're known for losing a decision for Trevor Peek, you don't just get to be on all the posters and be promoted as though you breathe the same air as Cory Sandhagen. Get slept. Good job, Kaue Fernandes. That's all I have to say about that one. To the next fight, we have Azamat Murzakanov versus Alonzo Menifield. And as I predicted, Azamat gets the dub via knockout. Look, I said I'm fading Alonzo at this point because I don't like his fight IQ. And I think that he's at the age where we're going to see a decline here. And that's exactly what happened. Azamat looks honestly pretty terrifying. Like, I know that he doesn't have that build at light heavyweight that sort of freaks you out, like he's not walking around looking like Khalil Roundtree, but dude throws with very lethal intentions. He can work the grappling. His cardio is like, I'm not going to say it's suspect, but it's like he's definitely not a volume guy, which is fine because he does enough with the shots that he lands. Oddly enough, Alonzo actually finally landed something back on Azamat, and you could almost see in his face the realization of, I just got buzzed. And it's like he's showing a fork in the road of, do I just sort of try to eke this fight out, or do I answer back when Alonzo is overconfident? And bro chose the red pill, the violence pill. Bam! Hits Alonzo with a big shot, sleeps him after another follow-up shot, which Alonzo really didn't need, but he did show that he was going to try to get out of there, or he was going to try to, improve his position. And Azamat finishes him off. Excellent victory. After having a decently long layoff, that's what you like to see from his return performance. I'd like to see him have a step up in competition against one of these perennial guys in light heavyweight. Feed him Anthony Smith. Okay, so moving on to the next fight, we have Joel Alvarez, our boy, versus Elves Brenner. The one thing that I was wrong about was that I said that he'd win by decision. Look, I just thought Elves was too tough. And I mean, he really was showing that he's super tough. But it's like, you can't take that many shots, right? I think that he was too confident in his chin. at least we know that by the third round, Elves was cognizant of the fact that he needed the stoppage. But I said in my prediction that he's going to be reliant on it because Joel Alvarez is going to just beat him in the fundamental striking exchanges. And I wasn't sure that Elves would take such a wrestling-heavy approach, nor did I expect that Alvarez would have such good defense, but he did. So great. But I did say that, Elves would be reliant on trying to get a finish. And in doing so, Alvarez, look, he had many opportunities. I thought he was going to finish him with that Darce, honestly. It was toward the end of the round. Maybe Alvarez just felt, don't burn your arms out. I don't have it. But, you see a lot of guys get finished from the Darce. It is a very hard position to recover from, as far as, chokes are concerned. And he looked amazing. I think that Joel Alvarez has improved since we saw him get murdered by Arman Tsarukyan, to the point where I do believe that, dude, I think he beats Michael Chandler. Can we be real? I think that he's in the tier of guys like a Paddy Pimblett who deserve to be in this next generation of ranked lightweights. I don't necessarily think that he's champion material, but dude just styled. That was a masterclass versus Elvis Brenner. And I think the promotion's really hyped about this because he's a native-born Spanish prospect who he's back in that prospect bucket. And super impressive win, honestly. Well done. And I had him there as well. So moving on to the next fight, it was Mackenzie Dern versus Lupita Godinez. I'm wrong on this one. 0 for 2 on female WMMA picks. What can I say? I also think that there's an argument that Lupita Godinez won. I know that Mackenzie Dern was chucking big shots. She was trying to consistently do more with the shots that she threw. But it's are we just counting points for hooks thrown on the guard at this point? Lupita has a high guard. That's what she's known for. She keeps her hands up, and she takes a lot of the shots on the guard. So I thought that, Dern might have snuck a few through that Lupita was wearing that, got her the decision. But I'm gonna sound like I'm gonna sound like a shithead for saying this, but I think that I think that Mackenzie Dern is just hotter and she looks better doing what she's doing. And so in every single close decision she ever has with the Tisha Torres fight, they just give it to her. And then she'll lose against somebody who's an actual title challenger because Dern still doesn't have great striking. I guess one thing I didn't consider in this fight is that Lupita is competent enough with the grappling to sort of nullify things, but too confident to where she wants to engage. She was engaging in the grappling too much. It gave Dern the opportunity to completely take the second. The 1 and 3 are the ones where it's I thought Lupita got it in both of them. Obviously, I could be a little biased, but anyway, Dern gets the win. Good for her. She's hot. Moving on, we have Michael Chiesa versus Tony Ferguson. And look, I think that Tony Ferguson, what are you doing? You get your opportunity to retire with a crowd that's chanting your name, and then he does the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Dude, we're not all screaming for you to stay. Go, dude. You literally, the second Chiesa engaged in the grappling, you were in a getting finished rear naked choke sequence. We used to talk about you as the jiu-jitsu threat that could beat Khabib. Crazy, the fall off. It needs to be studied. You've now broken BJ Penn's record, 8 consecutive losses. I love you, Tony. I grew up watching you. And then at the press conference, first of all, he takes Chiesa's mic time to fake retire, which is hilarious. I do have to say that was a Chad move and very based of Tony, but it's dude, then he's at the post-fight press conference saying, I want to keep working with the UFC. I'm not done yet. I feel like I still have it in me. You are delusional, and so is your management, and so are your coaches. They're bad people. who are you even training with at this point? I've never even heard of the gym that you're training at. Probably training with like fucking teenagers, amateur boxers. I don't understand what we're doing here. Please retire. It's not Tony time. It's time, Tony. Moving on to the next fight, we have Deiveson Figueiredo versus Marlon Vera. This was sick. This was like, I love Figgy. I've never been more of a Figgy fan, ever. Figgy is that guy, honestly. Like, he does what he needs to do, like an economical approach to the first round, works the takedowns. Marlon Vera, in his typical fashion, is having a slow start, and things are looking good. But then in the second round, Cheeto starts to, I'm actually throwing punches now. Like, the fight started for me because it's the second round and I don't start in the first, but I'm going now kind of strategy. And you're starting to see Deiveson not be able to get those takedowns, and you're like worried for him. Because it's like, I don't want to see Marlon Vera beat Figgy. I want to see Figgy make this run. I want to see Figgy Yan next. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead to what I want. And you're kind of like seeing like Figgy figuring this out, right? Like as he's approaching the third round of what do I need to do? And I love his answer. It's like chuck leather, bite down, tap into my crazy hellish power. Start doing that head bob thing where you know that he's like, I'm in the zone of danger. Dude, this worked for you. I like that he switched over to this grappling approach in bantamweight, because in flyweight, he was just fucking everybody up other than Moreno. Just killing everyone other than Moreno. What he did to Benavidez is illegal in most countries. But Figueiredo is sick. He's a G. He's like, I can be this economical guy, but when I need to tap into that dog, I can do it. And he fucking drops Vera, which is sick. Like, you've never seen Vera. And then even after that, when Vera gets back up to his feet, he's like, I might finish Vera. And he's throwing knees. And like, you can just tell he never got out of that mode for the rest of the fight when he knew that that's what he needed to win. When Vera starts doing his, I'm actually going to start striking with you, Vera. And dude, it was sick. Like I said, I've never been a bigger Figgy fan. Book it. Figgy versus Piotr Yan for a #1 contender fight. Battle of the former champions of flyweight and bantamweight. Dude, Figgy, I'm a huge Figgy fan now. Deiveson is that dude, and I love that performance. Great win. Moving on, we had in the co-main event, we had Shara Magomedov versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. And like Shara, what are we gonna say here? I mean, they gave Shara the layup, and sometimes people are given a layup and then they turn it into like a windmill dunk. He's never done that yet, which, you know what I mean? Like I think that I've heard some people recapping this card sort of like shitting on him a little too much. It's like, I do get it because he's being advertised as like, another Russian guy, but like he's a striker and he's more exciting, who's gonna be amazing. Like, they're giving him the co-main spot because they're really trying to build him up, but it's like Michal is the guy who you bet to lose by submission when the guy who he's fighting against, like Kevin Holland, has any sort of grappling acumen, because his record shows that's how he loses. He loses by submission. But, I just think that like when he's able to take Shara down, the alarms start, ringing to all of us fight fans that if Shara fights, first of all, if he fights Bo Nickel, he's going to get literally ragdolled, and we're all going to be like, why did we let Bo Nickel ragdoll a one-eyed man who thinks he's a pirate? Because like, that's how easy it would be. But I don't know. I'm not even sure that he could beat guys who I have as like, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, for instance, right? I'm not sure Shara would beat him. Like, maybe because of fight IQ issues, he would be able to like outpoint him if Abdul Al Razak Hassan doesn't ever engage in the grappling. But like, I just think a lot of guys watching him and the shine that they could steal off of him with a victory, they're going to want to tap into the grappling when they see that Michal on like a week's notice after having his arm fucked up by Holland not even that long ago is taking him to like a competitive 29-28 decision. I think there was a 30-27 in there, but like absolutely not. Michal won the last round easily. Body shots are open, grappling's open. Shara will lose eventually, but he's fun, and I like watching him fight. At least it's entertaining. Can't say that about some of these other guys from that region. Moving on, we have in the main event, Umar versus Cory. I'm going to say it again. I went 10-3 on this one. Much better showing. And my take on this one was that Umar was going to win because he's great, you know? And like I thought that it was going to be competitive because Cory's a dog and he's not going to get finished. But I said, like, I think Umar is a better striker than people think. And he's going to find his pockets to annoy Cory with the grappling. If anything, the grappling is going to open up the striking. And Umar didn't even have to do anything that flashy. He was literally just doing fundamental striking combinations. And what really on the eye test was obvious is that Umar is a physical specimen. We've never thought of Cory as the massive bantamweight, but he's been able to like implement like if you're going to dominate, if your path to beating Vera is a multi-round grapple fest. Same with Rob Font. I mean, I know the Rob Font victory isn't as impressive, but like he held down Vera with ease for a few rounds. We did just see Figueiredo struggle with that. So, I mean, I guess we think that Cory, despite the fact that he doesn't look big, like maybe he's just one of these guys who's very wiry, you know, very strong. Umar looked way stronger than him. And he just and he built throughout the fight, which you'd think Cory would do. Like, it's like Cory, that's the one thing I was wrong about. Cory looked the best in the first round, and then it got worse. Umar built. I think that it's because in this high-level fight, he was realizing, like, his confidence is building because he's like, wait a minute, I'm a better striker than Cory Sandhagen, who everyone, the Sandman, the Matrix, high IQ striker. I also said this, that Cory was too confident and too smart for his own good. You can sit there and switch stances and throw feints all day when a guy is stronger and faster than you and he's just doing basic, you know, he's throwing actual combos. Like Cory was just throwing single shots. You got Cory going for takedowns in the fifth. Like, I think that Trevor Whitman as a coach we're seeing more and more and more and more that like he's not this legendary coach. He doesn't even give, like they're telling him to go for heel hooks and shit. I didn't like that at all. So yeah, I think that Umar is next for a title fight. And I'd be really eager to see that. But we'll be talking about that in another time. I hope you guys like the card. Hope you guys like the content. If you do, drop a like. You know, let me know if, let me know some of your takes, some of your biggest takeaways from this fight. But yeah, I'd have to say, top to bottom, sick card. They're obviously trying to bolster these Middle East cards. They got to be throwing hella oil money at them. But this was a badass card. And like there was a lot of decisions, but at least a lot of them were fun decisions. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to covering the riveting fight night rematch between Tybura and Spivak next weekend. Yeah, in the meantime, take care, guys, and look forward to being back. Peace.